All right. Good morning. My name is Leanne Ferguson, and for those of you who don't know me, which is absolutely everybody right now on the phone knows me, I'd like to welcome you formally to our Poster Sessions Design and Delivery 101 class, featuring Dr. Jen Craft Morgan, Dr. Kyle Bauer, Debbie Yoder, and myself. Jen Craft Morgan is responsible today for sharing her screen, so hopefully you can see what we're looking at right now. Should be a PowerPoint slide with SGS lovely logo on the right, and the disclaimer that all materials exhibited during this webinar were donated for purposes of example and teaching and instructions. All the research images and results are the property of each researcher and author. I'm just going to spend a very brief second on webinar etiquette for the purposes of this meeting, just so that we can roll through this with grace and style. The first part of this is, if you are on the call, we just would request that while you're not speaking, you mute your audio so that we don't have background noises or interruptions. We are recording this. This recording will go onto our SGS resources tab along with the PowerPoint slide that you're seeing, and there will be additional supplementary resources that will also, such as the AP standards and styles. Ring Central panel, there is a chat feature. If you look down at the very bottom of your screen, you're going to see a little thought bubble, and it says chat. If at any time you do have a question and someone's speaking, I just ask that you send me, I'll be listed as your question, and I'll be happy to answer that question or propose that question to our panel as time suits us. There will also be an open Q&A session at the end of the presentation. And I also wanted to let you all know that you do have options in terms of how you see the screen. Some of you may be seeing the slide, but the pictures of the speakers are on the right, and it might be overlaying. If you go to the very top of your chat box, you're going to see a white bar that says Ring Central Meetings. If you want to click the View Options tab, you can either exit full screen, and that will put the viewer panel at the top, or you can click the side-by-side mode, and that will put the videos on the right and the webinar PowerPoints on the left. And again, I would like to just formally welcome everyone here. And Jen, take it away.
Good morning. So we're going to start off with talking about why present a poster. Maybe not in the social sciences, but for many disciplines, posters are really a go-to way to present research findings. They really, I found them really helpful in terms of in-progress work, where you can get a conversation going with other conference attendees, or you can succinctly present a finished work and be able to have that conversation and see where you're going next. It's a great way to get feedback from a stakeholder group, maybe a stakeholder group that you don't interact with normally, people who don't normally come to a session on a particular topic, but can get interested in a poster. And so you get a wider variety of colleagues that are milling around in poster sessions. And so it's a really good opportunity often for students, for people trying to find their place at a conference. It's a really nice way of interacting with other conference attendees. So it allows similarly interested people who are interested in the same things that you are, attendees to find you on the program and reach out to you for potential collaboration or consultation. It's easier to do that in a poster session than sort of a more standard paper session, because you're having that one-on-one conversation. And it's a great first presentation type for students, as it's low-key and flexible. You can use it for lots of different types of information or different studies, and it helps you develop relationships and a conversation with potential mentors. So what do you expect during your poster session? So if you've never done a poster session before, it's pretty important to have an elevator pitch. And when we talk about elevator pitches, we talk about, you get on an elevator, you're on the elevator for 30 seconds, and you have to be able to talk about your idea in a very short amount of time. And you need to sort of be aware of your audience member and have a sense of how much time they're willing to spend on the poster. So having a couple of different versions of your talk is important. But for this, I would prepare about 1 to 3 minutes on what your poster is and what you found. It should really help the listener understand the passion that you brought to the topic, highlight any interesting methods, any interesting findings, and go over the conclusions of your poster or the implications for practice briefly. You don't read the poster to listeners. That's one of the no-nos. I would make sure that you give the listener an opportunity to ask questions, ask if they have questions, engage them. It's a conversation, not a one-sided interaction. Oftentimes we get questions as poster presenters about what they're going to do next. Or be ready to talk about what you're going to do next. Be ready to talk about your educational and career context. This is an opportunity for you to get in front of potential future employers or collaborators. So being ready to give the larger context if people are interested in your work is really important in terms of helping you get to that next level of development and to make those connections with people who are potential collaborators or potential employers. Also, what we do at SGS is we have students often have the opportunity to have their poster judged for awards. And the judges, if you've checked the box in ex ordo when you upload your presentation, you will be considered for judging. And the judges will come around either in a team or on their own. They may or may not introduce themselves as judges. They usually carrying a clipboard or a scoring sheet, which would tip you off. I'd make sure you give your full elevator speech, highlighting each section of your poster, the passion you have for your project, and make sure that you talk about not only the research or the information from the project, but also the methodology and the rigor that you employed as you put together the poster, and then your conclusions and implications. So these are the specifics. These are also on the website, so I'm not going to read all of these. But essentially, you want to make sure that your poster conforms to the standards that we've set up for posters through SGS. Usually I recommend that you do the 36 by 48 size. It's somewhat standard. It's easy to print at most places. You can make your poster bigger. We have large poster display boards. Students wanting to have their posters judged, make sure that they click that box when they upload their abstracts. It's important that you get your special sticker when you get there, and student posters are going to be exhibited during the opening night of the conference, April 9th. So it's really important that you plan to be there that first night. And you'll get a number to hang next to your poster. So these specifications are also on the website. I'm going to turn it over to Kyle Bauer. Take it away, Kyle.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Kyle, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Thank you.
Better?
Yes, thank
A
you.
little better? Okay. Thank you, Debbie.
Do you say anything about the previous slide? Because I didn't hear anything on the previous slide.
Oh, okay. So if you could go back to the previous slide. So this is a typical or a suggestion from one of the APA resources about how to set up your poster. What I'd really like you all to take away from this is the balance of this. Everything is in its own contained place. The abstract isn't in two places. The method isn't in two places. And visually, you'll see that there's a nice balance to your poster. So, and we'll go through the various types of information in the subsequent slides. So, Jennifer, we can go to the next slide now. So the title, APA standards, we've all written in APA format before, and that format should also be taken into consideration when preparing your text for a poster presentation. So for instance, your title you should not capitalize every single word in the title. Some people don't know this. You capitalize the first letter of the title. And I provide an example for you. The Girl Who Knows Everything, a biography of Kyle Bauer. Yes, ha ha ha. But the first letter, the, is capitalized. The rest are not capitalized. And the first word or letter after the colon is capitalized as well as proper nouns. So my name is capitalized, but if it was just a pronoun, you wouldn't capitalize it. Then a helpful tip is choose a title that captures the interest of an audience and orients the audience to the poster's content. So like Jen was saying, think about your elevator speech. This is the first thing people see when they want to come by your poster and stick around for a while, or even in the program, before people see the poster, they'll see the title. So think about that when you, while you're creating your abstract and your poster materials. Next, embedded citations. These are, again, APA writing standards. I like to use Purdue OWL. That's a saved tab on my computer. I love the ease of it, and they keep it updated, and it's very user-friendly. You can also use APA manuals. They just tend to get outdated sometimes. So an example here is for an embedded citation. So this also means that it's next to the text in the text blocks that you saw on the previous slide. So you would put the abbreviated citation. A good tip for here for embedded citations is to make the text slightly smaller, because it's not an attention grabber, but it does provide information. So if you're short on space, you can make these a little bit smaller, consistent, and it's still provides the information and a nice look. Formatting tables, like I said, Purdue OWL provides great visuals for this in addition to instructions. And these should be used to visualize, to summarize complex ideas. And I have a slide next that will show you what I mean by that. And then finally, the citation list. For this, you want to use APA citations in alphabetical format, of course. And some people don't know, when you're taking information from maybe a paper to a poster, it's not necessary to cite every single citation from that original paper. Not everybody will make, not all the citations will make the poster. So in thinking about space and visual, visual benefits, I guess, you would want to cut down that citation list and really, summarize it for your the people looking at your poster. Okay, and next slide. So this is the table structure. Again, you can find what APA is on Purdue OWL. Also, a good tip is to look at research articles and see how they are presenting different types of data from research studies. But I found this was a nice visual that summarizes the basic elements of a table. So we have a picture. So this slide is 2. So I pasted a table, and that gives you some information the title is italicized, the subheadings and the columns are all underlined, everything's centered. There are lines in the table. That's another important thing to note, where lines should be removed and where they should be put in. And then this whole table I also cited as a figure. So figures and tables look slightly different. we have table 2, and then the title is italicized. With figures, the figure 1 is italicized, and the name of the table is not italicized. Also, with figures, the title is at the bottom, and on tables, the title is at the top. And also, with any type of table or figure you want, if it's not your data, if you're bringing in something from an outside source, you definitely want to cite it. And again, APA is the best rule of thumb for there. So when you decide, I want tables or figures or charts on your poster, it's good to ask yourself some of these questions that you see on the left side of your screen. So is it necessary? Can I live without it? Because the posters, although they're big, there's a lot of information that needs to go on there. So use the space wisely. Is it necessary? What's it going to add to my presentation and to the quality of the content? Make sure that your tables and figures, whatever you use, are consistent. So even if there is something that's not quite APA and it just looks better, make sure those things are consistent. And I'll show you what those look like on the next slide. Is the data displayed accurately? Okay, great. Yeah. So here we have some tables. And as you see, APA, you don't usually put the lines in the body of the table. But here, because it's a visual and you're trying to grab people's attention, they're not going to stick by your poster for 30 minutes and look through everything. It's important to visually dissect the information. So here I used 2 different colors of gray. So even though it's all one table, people can very easily see the average age, the sex of the people, they're married, and visually you can see it quickly. And in the table below, the text is kind of small because there's a lot of information. So the use of color there, again, separates the information so people can read it quickly and not have to squint or follow their finger and draw imaginary lines. It's already there with color. Then the top bars, everything is consistent. So of course, color is not part of APA, but again, for a poster, you want to grab people's attention. So all the titles of the boxes are in red, and with the tables, the top columns are underlined. So that's how we used different bolded text and everything, again, to keep people's eyes on track. And at the bottom of the second table, or on the bottom, the second table, there's notes. So it tells people what abbreviations are, the p-values that were used for this data, just important information they should know about the statistics. Okay, and let's go to, and I'll also point out here in the discussion box, this is an example of how we did embedded citations and made the citations just a little bit smaller than the regular text. So the citations would fit and they wouldn't take away from the text and what that said. We also used, and I'll go on, talk about this. Actually, let's go to the next slide and I'll talk about it there. Great. Okay. So colors and font, I was talking about this a little bit just before. Colors for your poster, you want to pick something that's aesthetically pleasing for your art, for your visitors, I guess I should say, to your poster. So I would stay away from neon green, yellow, pink. Those can be hard to read. Also be mindful of people who might have visual impairments, for instance, those who are colorblind. So you want to stick with black text. Color text can be a great way to note importance, but not necessarily in this format when you don't know who's going to stop by your poster. So instead of using different colors to note important text, I suggest using bolded text or italicized text. Underline can also be helpful. Just be aware of how many lines you're underlining. Because if you step away from a poster a little bit further back, that underlining can really get a little messy and not be helpful for people to view. So back to colors, the affiliation with school, organization, or cause. So this poster is something I did about HIV and AIDS. So I chose the color red for HIV awareness. And also my school is the University of Georgia. So red and black also is branding my department and my university. Colors that complement each other are also a really good idea. And like I said, colors that are just too distracting may not be the best for people who have problems seeing color variations. Font, basic fonts. This is not a time to get fancy with fonts. Just use Times New Roman, Helvetica, whatever your go-to is, stick with that. Consistency with font and font styles, so bolding, italics, and underlined, especially with the headings. I think this adds a level of professionalism to when the headings are consistent, people know where to look for the different parts of information. And then lastly, proper spacing of text is critical. So you'll see here, I have pretty lengthy quotes included in my poster. And instead of doing single spaced, it was important for me to do them double spaced. So again, people could easily see these quotes. That's really what I wanted them to read. And then on top of that, I narrowed the quotes with bolding. So I bolded the parts that I really wanted people to pay attention to because those inform the policy recommendations. All right, and I think we will lead into photographs with Debbie.
Thank you, Kyle. I really enjoyed that. Photographs are another great way to get your posters noticed. You're going to be in a big room with potentially 20 other people displaying posters, and people are walking around looking at what they want to check out. And a really easy way to grab their attention is by a great photo on your poster. Now, it is not appropriate for every poster. The slides that Kyle showed us before with the research on mental health, that probably would be appropriate to have a photo of one of the participants. However, the slide with the older gay men and social capital, that one may be that you want to engage someone's emotion and get them attached to your work as quickly as you can. And photos are the easiest way to do that. They work great with anything you've done in qualitative research. You can use them for quantitative as well, but they're a perfect pairing for qualitative research. When you're choosing an image, you want to choose something that's bold, something that's going to stand out. You don't want a big landscape photo that someone has to get really up close to look at and see what's in the image. You want something that's big and bold and fairly close up. You want something that illustrates something they may not have seen before, an excuse to start a conversation, something that immediately triggers a question and helps them engage with your material. You're looking for a way to stand out, and this is a great way to do it. In addition to using the colors and the layout and the style, photographs are a great way to do this. When you choose a photo, make sure that it's something high quality. You don't want it to be blurry, and you don't want it to be, once your poster is blown up to that 36 by 48 size, you don't want to see any pixelation in the image. You don't want to have any problems like that. So make sure you start with a quality photo, and you can crop it, edit it. You can do that in PowerPoint. You can do that before you move it into PowerPoint. If you have people in your photo, which is a great way to go, be sure that you get a model release. These are easy to find. You can find them for free online. There are templates available. And you want to make sure that anywhere you display this photo, you have a model release if someone should ask for it. You also want to give proper credit to the photographer. So just like you need to cite your resources when you use other people's data, you also want to give credit to a photographer to use their work. So you can simply insert a text box into the photo and do it right on the image there, or you can add it at the bottom, whatever works best in your particular photo. And if you go on to the next slide, this is a poster that I did for SGS last year. And I chose the two images there because they were conversation starters. The first one, there are photographers taking pictures of a model who's surrounded by smoke. And as people walked by my poster, the first thing that they saw was something was on fire and what is going on with this. And that started a conversation about, no, this is a group of older adults who get together, they hire a model, they go into these different settings, and they take these great images. So it started a really natural conversation about the intervention that I had designed. So it was very easy to do. And then the other image is my father. So, and it's on one of our trips to Havana. So it was a really easy way to talk about what the next steps were. But for him, because of what we're doing, he's now a little bit more engaged and a little bit more willing to learn another language. So it's part of the next steps. I use that image to help me move into what the next steps are for my project, for what I see the future of that. So photos are a great way to get some attention, a great way to start a conversation, and whenever appropriate, I would highly encourage you to include them. Leanne, would you like to continue with the details to include, or Jen?
I think it's my turn. Sorry, I was just
Sorry
there for a second. So thanks, Debbie. Thanks, Kyle. I've learned a lot about posters. One of these posters that we've got here is James and Dr. Mingo's poster from a few years ago. One of the things that's here is that this is a really full poster. Probably would be good to reduce the amount of text. So this was his entire capstone project and a paper that he was working on. And you can see how detailed it is, but I think it would be useful to have a little less text on this poster. But it's a good example of how you block it out. It would have been lovely to have a couple of pictures and some more visual interest on this poster. This is a poster that we'd put together before for SGS. This is an example. We've got some photos here of the different sites that were involved, and some illustrations of the different teams to get people's attention. And it's blocked out into different sections that different people might be interested in. So if they were, and it's clearly delineated. Probably if I were to do this again, I would reduce the amount of things that I'm trying to cover in one poster, but this is a problem I normally have. So we're not all it's not easy to decide what goes in and what doesn't go in, but this is a complicated sort of conceptual paper that's covered an entire 3-year project. Okay, and then we thought we would close with showing you the 2 poster winners from last year to give you a sense of, if you're not a professional poster maker, you can still make a great poster and have it win great awards that have cash prizes with them. So this one is Carol Jacobs' poster, Caregivers Care, and this is about her business that she's trying to get off the ground. And it's visually appealing. It has this wheel in the middle that really draws your attention to it. And it's got some nice figures about caregiving. Probably there's a little more text here than there should be. And of course, just like Debbie, she closes with the memory of her mother, which is where the visual image comes from, Bert's Circle, which is pretty cool. And gets people attention and evokes their interest and passion and empathy. So you can use visual cues, and you can use text to sort of help people get into your research and learn from you, which is a great part about posters. And then this last one is a poster winner from last year, Cheyenne. Cheyenne was an undergraduate student. I think he did a really nice job of limiting the amount of text on this poster. I see as we moved it, it changed a little bit on that last column. So you shouldn't have your text overrun your titles like it is right now. But the idea is that he had visual appeal with the graphics up at the top, and was pretty specific about what he included in each of the sections. And each of the sections are clearly delineated, and he spent some time on next steps and implications, which I particularly think is important, especially for SGS. Both Carol and Cheyenne are charismatic and did wonderful elevator speeches, so that also has a good impact on whether or not you win an award for a poster. So as much as the poster itself is important, also your presentation to the judges is also important. Okay, so let's wrap it up with other items to consider. So in poster printing, often your university has inexpensive options for students. So, for example, our university, one of the geosciences department has inexpensive opportunities where you can get your poster printed for about $15-$20. And so it's worth digging around at your university to see if there's somebody who has the capability to do it, and that you can get it done relatively cheaply. There are lots of online poster printers, postersmith.com, spoonflower.com. Postersmith.com also offers the fabric posters, which are beautiful. And I often recommend these if you're going to use your poster more than once, to have the fabric posters, because they hold up a lot longer than the paper posters do, and they're really easy to travel with. You can fold them and put them in your luggage, and you don't have to deal with poster tubes. When you travel with your poster, you probably want a shoulder strap poster tube. Sometimes you get cardboard tubes supplied through the printer, but they're hard to hold while you're holding all the other luggage that you're holding. They're really a pain. So the shoulder straps to poster tubes really help out, and they're available on Amazon. Shipping options: you're welcome to ship your poster directly to the conference venue. Most conference venues allow you to do this. The problem with shipping is that you do it at your own risk. Sometimes the hotels are really good about it, sometimes not so good about it, and shipping loss and misplacement by the conference venue does happen. So ship it early if you're going to do it, and maybe call the conference venue and make sure that they're paying attention. It's really important to have supporting materials. You can take your poster presentation to the next level by having handouts. You can do a simple PDF of your poster and hand out those so people can take them with them. You can do handouts with your contact information and your abstract. It's important to have your contact information on your poster and on your handouts so that people can easily get back with you if they're interested in your work. It's good to have business cards available. It's a good time to go ahead and print business cards. If you're a student, you can have them on the poster board. So if you're not at your poster, somebody could take your card and get in touch with you. And SGS does provide tacks to post up your board, but it's good to bring extra tacks, binder clips, or tape to secure materials. If you have more than just the poster to put up, like you want to do handouts, I've seen people do little pockets that are posted on the board, and then they put their handouts in there or their business cards. And this is really a nice way to make yours stand out a little bit more and provide people with the opportunity to get in touch with you, which is what this is all about: creating networks and creating opportunities for you to get your research out there, to get your programs out there, to get your information out there so that you can connect to the wonderful SGS community. So we just here on the side are highlighting the dates. The travel scholarship date is February 15th. The student paper award date is also February 15th. If you want to be considered for a Student Poster Award, please indicate it when you submit your abstract. And we do want to remind you that SGS membership is required to participate in awards and scholarships. So become a member today. The conference deadlines are November 12th for abstracts and the regular call for presentations. We will have a late breaker poster session submission period as well, where poster submissions will be due by February the 22nd. So, oh, and a nice plug at the bottom here for awards nominations. So your mentors, your friends, your older adult advocates, the best media, the best videos that you've seen this year, you can submit an award nomination on the website. So now we'd like to open it up for questions. If there's anybody who has questions on any of the content we presented, Kyle, Debbie, and I, and Leanne would all be excited to answer your questions. Thanks.
And if you do have questions, you're probably on mute, so you'll just want to unmute your microphone before you ask your question so we can hear you.
I guess it is a question. This is, well, you can see me, it's Jamie. So I've been thinking about, well, last year I did this year technically, I did a poster, and I have been thinking about submitting an abstract it's basically it's behavioral gerontology, and I haven't really done any research on it. I've basically just been reading and looking at different articles. It's relatively new. I mean, it's based on applied behavior analysis, which traditionally when people think of ABA, they think of, you know, working with children or young adults with learning disabilities, to help them build behavioral and social skills. But, you know, so behavioral gerontology is the application of ABA principles and techniques to assist older adults improve quality of life and coping skills. And, you know, there's not a whole lot of research on how to apply it for an older population, but there is some. And, you know, since I guess the early 70s, there have been a few articles written about the benefit of leveraging ABA to assist older adults who may be experiencing, you know, cognitive and or behavioral deficits. So I've been thinking that it might be a really interesting topic to have at our conference next year, but I'm just not really sure if, you know, it would be appropriate to submit something like that.
I think it's an excellent poster topic. I've seen some really successful posters do a literature review and sort of conceptual development, and then sort of an implications to set up a bigger or a collaborative research project. You might be able to connect with people who would want to support your development further as you think through the ideas. I think it's important to make sure that it's not just sort of a static lit review, but that you are trying to push it forward in terms of conceptualization and implications for the field. But I think it would be a great poster topic, it could be a really great poster abstract. Anybody else want to?
I'll chime in on this one if I may. This is Leanne. I will tell you that I really enjoy the posters for one specific purpose, and that is almost like a shopping trip for me. I go into the poster sessions literally with the poster titles, and I go look for things that align with my own research interests. And
right.
Sometimes I find those people who are kind of on the same track, and we can have that dialogue during that poster session, exchange information about how to follow up after the poster session or the conference is over. And that has proven to be quite successful in finding those kind of grassroots, like yours, Jamie, those grassroots kind of just emerging ideas that then you can find complementary partners with to kind of proceed. And it turns into some really neat products. We've watched over the years at SGS something start in a poster session that ends up as a panel symposium. So I think that that's really, I mean, I know that some people kind of dim the importance of poster sessions a bit, but for me, I think they're such a critical marketing tool for your own research, your own persona, your own style. I can't emphasize how much those poster sessions really do mean a lot, especially in the long end.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the question, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Anybody else with questions?
I'll pose a question because I realized we didn't cover it in the slides, but I would certainly love to hear how or what tools you all use to actually put your poster together. Do you do it in PowerPoint? Do you do it in Photoshop? How do you best negotiate the materials and putting it all together?
That's a great question. Kyle, did you want to talk a little bit about the resource that we're going to post?
Sure. So the APA handout that we have for you all shows you how to do it in 2 different software platforms, PowerPoint and Publisher. I have personally not worked in Publisher. I've worked in PowerPoint, and there are so many resources and templates for PowerPoint formatting. You can Google it. Also, of course, you'll have the handout from this webinar, but if that's just not enough, if you want to see more, go Google PowerPoint scientific poster presentations, and you'll get quite a few results from that search. And personally, I like working with PowerPoint because I'm already familiar with PowerPoint. So formatting it, it's just a learning curve of understanding how big to make your text. And again, that handout will go over that. And there are other resources I can also cultivate for you guys if that's something we're interested in, and converting, what's a 12-point font look like versus a 36-point font.
The other sort of tip that I often tell students is usually I'm doing all my posters in PowerPoint as well, and it looks like it looks on the screen and you're not sure if it's readable, but you can always view it at 100% and have a sense of how readable it is and whether or not your pictures or your graphics are pixelated or blurry. So it's always good when you are done with a poster to sort of step back and view it at 100% around the whole poster so that you can get a sense if it's going to print out nicely before you send it to the printer.
Sorry, Jen. To add to that, also what I've done in the past with my research lab is we put the PowerPoint slide up on the board and looked at it that way. So we are feet away from the slide, looking for inconsistencies, and then we can move closer. Also color. So I talked before about color. If it's a blue that's kind of questionable, just make it a sharp color. This is not the time to play with color because every printer is kind of off. And it red can turn to pink really easily, and then you're kind of stuck explaining to people maybe why you have a pink poster. So it's good to check on different screens if your color is questionable. That's another thing I've learned.
Yeah, that's a good point. Other questions? All right. Well, I think this was a great introduction to posters, and I'm excited to use it in my own class next semester. So thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Debbie. Thanks,
Jen, will
Liam.
you flip to the last slide so we can see the upcoming webinars?
Oh, yes. We have upcoming webinars. Atlas TI for Every Day with Dr. Kyle Bauer. Awards for Students and Mentors, How to Apply and Why It's Important. Technology Help for Older Adults, and How Can a Professional Organization Impact My Career. And these will be details for these will be on the SGS website. So keep looking at that website and get your abstracts in as soon as you can. Any final comments or questions?
I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us, especially our esteemed panel of poster experts today, even if you are today. Again, we'll have these resources will be posted on our resource page just as soon as we can get those uploaded.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm hearing Connie. Connie? Oh, maybe not. Okay. Well, you know where to find me if you need me, admin at southerngerontologicalsociety.org, and I'll see you all in the next meeting.
Thanks,
Hi,
bye.
thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
everybody.